This movie's about two actresses, one old and one new. And what do they think of each other? I'm a Salad and I saw All About Eve. It is written and directed by Joseph L. Mankiewicz. And if you haven't seen this movie, I will spoil it for you. Before I start, this movie is dense. Oh my goodness. It's a Mankiewicz after all, man. Packed. And I mean packed with social interactions with each other that only heighten the social influences going on in this movie. So, we are following Margot. She just turned 40. She's a pretty established actress. And we're also following Eve. She's a new actress. Margot hates Eve because she thinks that Eve will take her position and that she won't have a career anymore. She's worried about how her age will affect her career, which is completely reasonable. She's 40, she's out of her prime. Sure, she's great at acting, and people recognize her, they feel comfortable with her name. However, Margot has a dark read on the situation. She feels threatened by Eve. Eve, however, on the other hand, she kind of doesn't like the industry. She doesn't like dealing with their mutual producer. And since Margot has been under this producer for a while, she has some familiarity, and also they can talk on an equal level because they've been in the business for a while now. Eve is discouraged by this producer giving her criticism and notes on her acting. And so she goes and confides into another woman, "Man, I just don't want to be here anymore. I'd rather just hang out with my old friends than get yelled at by this man." And she's crying. And I'm just thinking, man, what if Margot saw any of this? Then Margot would change her mind about how she's seeing things. Also, what this movie taught me is perspective. Everything is a matter of perspective. Margot, she feels threatened by Eve, even though she has the established position, and she has a good relationship with the producer. They seem to be on equal terms with each other most of the time. Very little criticism is being said to Margot. However, Eve, although she's promising, her mindset is not there to deliver fully on what she has to do. So the entire movie is about those social dynamics in play. Those are the main social dynamics. And of course, you got some other outside people, the friends, both parties of the friends, and Margot talking to their friends about what she thinks about Eve, and even doing the same thing. Eve admires Margot, and Margot despises Eve. It's really fun. It's a fun dynamic. Because of this Eve thing's happening, she's like, I'm becoming more hysterical. She's losing her cool. She's forgetting important dates, including birthdays. She's becoming hysterical. She's not the type to be hysterical, so the fact that she is concerning. Also, Eve, she feels like she's just kind of there. Hollywood was not exactly as she thought it would be, and she'd just rather go back. And I think if you don't have the mentality to stick it through, then you should go back, because it's your life. You do what you gotta do. You gotta be a different breed of person to be an actor or an actress. You gotta be able to show emotion on your face, even if you don't feel it, or force yourself to feel it so the emotion is there. I'm not an actress, so I don't know the very specifics, but I can observe. And with observation, I observe that both of those actresses are great actresses. What's interesting is Eve's like, I'm gonna marry this guy, and we're gonna have a great time together. We're gonna write screenplays, and we're gonna feature in movies. It's gonna be the greatest thing ever. And the producer gets wind of this. He's like, no, you're not doing this. This is undercutting me. I'm going to expose everything about you because you're going against me. And you know, I feel like Margot, if she was more in tune to how Eve was handling the producer, then she wouldn't have anything to worry about. It's also interesting. There's a lot of theater drama. Not movies, sorry. Theater. Very dramatic. And Margot, she actually turns down the role because she feels she's too old. And so naturally it'd go to Eve. But Eve wanted different. And the producer blackmails her. She's actually, instead of Eve, she has this really complicated first and last name with a bunch of letters and numbers and exclamation points in the name. That's just something funny I added. And she's like, oh, fine, I'll work for you forever. And so the movie opens with them at a award ceremony. I'm like, oh yeah, you're being genuine. But then the movie ends with them being at the same award ceremony, and it's a completely different tone. Margot, she's just kind of there. She denied the part, so I feel like she herself retired mentally. But Eve just is there. She doesn't want to be there, but she has to. And so she's accepting the award and she's thanking everyone. But her face, it feels like there's a lot of emotion behind it. But her tone, thankful. But her face, though, ooh, it feels like she doesn't want to be there. And so she just skips out on the after party. I would never skip out on an after party. That's what I'm there for, is for the party, not to hear people give speeches. That's the most boring part of anything. I want to be there for the party, for the food, and Eve decides to leave it all because she just hates everything. Eve meets this chick, just in her room. In her house, in her room. It's weird. Why is she there? Who knows? Who cares? But she's there to admire Eve. And I like how the producer's like, oh, I gotta get this under check because Margot and Eve stood out. Now, this same thing's gonna happen again. Eve's gonna get Margot'd by the equivalent Eve. So this is a fun movie. There's so much density to it. I barely cracked the surface of it. It is such a good movie, so many good social dynamics, such good acting, and I was compelled to watch the screen the entire time. I'm not usually a type of person who likes stuff like this or is just focused on the characters and them in a rich setting most of the time or in a theatrical setting. I feel like this movie is about theater politics, and it is written so well that I enjoy it, because that's what social interactions are. It's just politics. That's what the word comes from. Social politics? Is there a better word for that? Let me know if you've ever seen this movie. You definitely should. I gotta give it a solid 8.5 out of 10. If you like this review, watch another one. The platform really likes that. $20 dealers at patreon.com/ASTpresents. Go to this link for you to support the daily grind of all them daily movie reviews. And until next time, I've been Salad Saw. I'll see you later to my Sal Croutons Bacon Bits. I'm gonna go look for Eve. She's somewhere. Bye-bye.